Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jeff.
What's up, man?
Not much. Just drinking beer, podcasting. What about you?
Yeah, same.
Well, I guess if we're not good at small talk today, so this is podcast versus everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser.
Well, we took last week off, so we're kind of rusty.
Yeah, I forgot how to talk to
We're
you,
like,
anyone.
how do I talk to my friend? I can't remember. It's been a week, and it's been 2 weeks.
I only know how to talk to a toddler, and that's just...
Well, that's not that different than talking to me, Craig.
Oh, I bet it is. I promise.
You guys went to the zoo the other day.
Yeah, we did.
I bet that was exciting.
It's a regular thing. The aquarium part of the zoo is open now, which is cool. Sea turtles,
that's
all
good.
that.
Yeah, because that's indoors.
But he was most excited about the ice cream stand was open. So,
of course.
We got ice cream. We
Cares
dropped
about
some because she's
animals.
a toddler, and a squirrel came over and ate it from right underneath our feet. So that was the most exciting thing all day.
I'll bet she was tickled.
Yeah. I had to talk her into not reaching out to touch the squirrel because the squirrel will bite you.
No, these are friendly zoo squirrels.
Friendlies definitely don't have rabies. They're fine.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Did they have the kids' play area? Was that all closed off?
Oh, yeah, they haven't opened that yet.
Yeah.
And you can go over to where the meerkats are and the lemurs, but they have all when you go farther back behind that, where like the full on play area with like and the petting zoo, that you can't go back there.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense.
Because all the kids are desperate to talk to another kid. Like, so that's what B is usually more interested in, is looking at the other children at the zoo.
Was everybody wearing their masks?
Yeah, okay, good. It's required. So.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, they're watching. Yeah, they'll kick you out. There's zoo people.
Like I go to Costco and some dude's rolling down the aisle with his mask just over his chin, and I want to punch him in the face. I'm like, it's not how it works, asshole.
Freedom,
Yeah.
We need their freedom.
God. Wear your masks, people.
Wear your masks.
This is not a political statement.
Yeah, it is not. Just wear a mask.
Just wear the damn mask. I'm telling you, if we wore the mask, we'd crush this thing at least enough that, we might actually have football, and I might be able to go back to work in the fall with my, my students. And right now it's looking like all that's pretty up in the air.
Very high up in the air.
Even though everybody wants it to happen.
Well, we see it slowly to segue. Thank you, Jeff, for that opportunity. We see it slowly. We see things being slowly taken away for fall sports, particularly football. We see a lot of conferences, including the Pac-12, have now moved to conference-only schedules. So at the most, we'll see the Cougs only play their conference opponents this fall. We've seen other smaller schools, MEAC schools, and other FCS schools, things like that, just cancel fall sports outright. Obviously, there's a lot more money on the line for Power 5 schools in particular, so they're going to hold off on doing that as long as they can. But I don't know about you, Jeff. This just seems like one domino after another that's eventually leading, especially given the trend of infections in particularly, southern states in the country. It just seems like it's just one domino after another that eventually leads to the season being postponed.
Yeah, I mean, you'll recall that I was the one who was like, they're probably going to figure out a way to have a season because there's just too many bills to pay and, whatever. Well, that was what, probably 6 weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know.
And
8 years ago, I think.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it seemed plausible that the thing would be enough under control that, they would figure out a way to play some games. And it's like, it is very clearly not under control. And it's very clearly not just a function of increased testing. I know that's a pretty common talking point from people on a certain part of the political spectrum, but it is not merely a function of increased testing. That the virus is spreading, infections are growing, and it's basically curving out of control again. And at this point, I've pretty much gone the other direction. So I was really confident they'd figure out a way to have a season. I feel equally confident now that it's not going to happen. And at some point, they're going to pull the plug. And whether that's people just sort of coming to their senses. Look, I mean, I feel like all of these, the NFL, I think, has done the same thing. I think they're all just sort of they've sat around like crossing their fingers and wishing and hoping that it was going to get better and that things were going to be okay and that miraculously everything was going to be fine. And, at this point it's obviously not fine. And, you've got situations with like, say, the NBA and MLS and the NWSL, and, they are putting themselves in bubbles to try and contain this thing, and they're not even able to contain this thing. And so a college campus is I think we've seen from the states
dish.
I think we've seen from the states that opened pretty quickly and had kids on a college campus, bars have basically been one of the worst spreaders of the virus especially among younger people who have sort of believed that, well, I'm, even if I catch it, it's really not that bad. And it can be still, even if you're young. So anyway, I just like, if they can't even do it in the NBA bubble, if they can't do it in the MLS bubble, MLS had to basically kick 2 teams out of their tournament because they had so many positive cases.
Same for NWSL. A team withdrew from the tournament.
Yeah. So I just don't see where, if you've got, even if it's conference only, you got 12 teams, all on college campuses, which are populated by college age students. I just don't see how you're gonna keep that up. And and the same goes for just public schools. I mean, that's something that's pretty big deal to me, being a public school teacher. And it's like, if you can't even keep it out of there, like what makes you think you're going to be able to keep it from running rampant, really, in any place where you've got a large number of people? And so. Yeah, I think at some point this is going to get postponed to spring, at which time, if they're smart, they'll, get off their asses and actually like get together and use the NCAA in a way that it ought to be used for, which is as a centralized planning, committee or organization, whatever you want to call it, and stop just, wishing and praying that things are going to get better.
Yeah, it's... Obviously, this has become a contentious issue, even taking precautions. Thankfully, I think maybe the impact of polling numbers may finally sway some politicians to advocate for masks. But of course, we see, the governor of Georgia declaring that mask mandates are not allowed and things like that. Yeah.
And suing the mayor of the largest city in the state.
Yeah, and it's
happens to be a Democrat and a black woman, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this is taking crazy. I feel like it's crazy. I was talking to my my colleague from Australia. We have a weekly call. She lives in Sydney. She was telling me how the state of Victoria, which is where Melbourne is effectively just, they had like 200 cases in a day, and they shut down the state to like no one can go in and out and stuff like that. Like it's for 200 cases, and you're seeing Florida and some places like get tens of thousands of 10,000 plus cases, new cases in a day and stuff, and hundreds of deaths and whatever. So it's just bonkers that it's to talking people who don't live here, and about what it's like, and they're just confused. Like, why don't they see people with it? And it's like, well, that doesn't seem to matter. Plus, it's still like enough where if it's impacting, 30 out of 10,000 or whatever, like you're probably not going to see someone with it. So I guess it still doesn't hit people in the face quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest issue, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, well, I don't know anybody who's died from it, and like that's the point. We're trying to keep that from happening. I don't know. I do think it's going to take somebody young, somebody very well known, dying from it to get it to really hit home for people, which sucks and is horrible. And like I think of like college football, and I think like, okay, we're talking however many conferences, and basically 100 football players for every team, and think about how many people that is, and then think about the stats, and then think about, okay, that's probably half a dozen football players who die, right? Like something like that.
Yeah.
If we do this, if we just apply, very strict, statistical probabilities to it, and we're like, okay, so if it holds true, then it's, probably 5 or 6, college football players get infected and, have a very serious reaction to it. And, I mean, that's like, I don't know how you like, I don't know. I'm not a person who's like, standing on my moral high horse about all of this. Like I'm watching MLS, like I don't really have much of an issue watching these things if they're on TV, which I don't know, maybe that makes me a hypocrite, but I also feel like, man, those are professional athletes. That's probably a little different than a college student too.
Yeah. And they're getting paid and stuff, but I do think, when I look at the NWSL tournament, and I don't know if we talk, obviously Morgan Weaver from WSU's been playing that. She's been playing pretty well, started
a couple matches.
But that for them, like, they're not really being compensated that well for that. And then obviously some of the lower level, like prospect MLS players are not getting paid that well. Like we're talking like very regular person, young person salaries, like,
right.
like yearly salaries in the NWSL are very low. They're like 20, 30,000. Like, so it's like minor league baseball players, even though these are the best women's soccer players in the world. Like it's still just, their salaries are very low. And so, even in those, it's like, I feel a little guilty. I'm like, they're putting their, it's kind of similar to like, if you think about, if you're going out to the bar, you're going out to the restaurant, the employee is working there, and they're the ones that are be at the most risk because they're being exposed to the most people. So really, if you're going to do that, like, please wear a mask, because like you're putting others in danger in case you have caught it. If you're not doing that. And so the same thing goes. And so obviously these NWSL players, these MLS players are running around, no masks on. They're not even on the sidelines. It's very, the mask and the wearing of masks is very sporadic. And they do the thing where every time Brian Schmetzer, the head coach of the Sounders, wants to yell something, he pulls his mask down.
Right.
And so don't pull your mask down to talk to people. That's when the things are going to fly out of your mouth that you don't want to fly out into the ether. Like, but so it's just like, I think there's a lot of like, it's baffling that, I guess it's like you find the information you want to find. Like there's like even people that are wearing the masks, like you said, the guy having it around his chin's like misusing them. And then, we have this sort of this, my brain's melted, but where it's like you're putting these athletes, probably they're at risk, but you still just are so desperate to watch something. Cognitive dissonance, but like you're just like, it's so hard because I want to see the Rain play, and I want to see Morgan Weaver play, and I want to, even though she plays in that terrible uniform, but I want to see her play, and I want to see her do well, and I want to watch the Sounders, as boring as they've been to watch, and
yeah,
it's just it's hard because I want to watch college football so bad.
Yeah.
And I would just love if we had college football this fall, even if we couldn't go to the games. But it's just at some point, with these with these amateur athletes, it's at some point you can't really. It's hard to force them to do things. They don't have a union like a lot of the pro sports do, where they can negotiate terms and things like that. They're kind of up to other people making a decision.
Yeah, I do wonder at what point the players start to get together a little bit and say, why are we doing this? Or I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't know if that happens. Because part of it, what's sort of amazing about this whole situation is that, the member institutions of the NCAA have gone to great lengths to craft a very specific organizational structure of this whole thing, right? And one thing we talk about, fairly often is the comical concept of amateurism.
Yeah.
And, how really it's really just more of an excuse to keep all the money than anything else. And so, what they've done is, they've created this thing that really is in service to that thing, right? Like the whole thing is in service to that thing. And, so the NCAA does not really have a whole lot of power over college football. And that is how the Power 5 conferences specifically set it up on purpose. This is no accident. So sometimes I've seen people, on Twitter sort of tweet why hasn't the NCAA come out and, done anything? Or why hasn't the NCAA taken control of this thing to, come up with some sort of organized plan for everybody? And I'm like, the NCAA was set up specifically not to be able to do that. They created this body to enforce, not really, important rules, but to enforce rules that, maintain the cartel structure of amateurism. And that's really it. And that's why it's there. And that's why it exists. And, as far as college football goes, I think most people know that the college football playoff is not run by, the NCAA. That's run by the college football playoff, which is run by the Power 5 conferences. So it's just, they've set up a thing specifically designed for the NCAA not to be able to meddle. It's why, the Penn State thing went the way it did, where, they tried to levy some punishments and all of that, pretty much, not all of it, but most of it ended up getting, reversed, in a pretty short amount of time. The North Carolina, academic cheating scandal there, well, geez, why didn't they drop the hammer on North Carolina? Why? Because it's not designed to do that. And the NCAA with the North Carolina thing just went, well, who are we to say what's a real class and what's not?
Right.
And, so it's been set up. The NCAA right now is functioning exactly as it was set up to function. The Power 5 college football programs are all set up to the conferences. They're all set up. They're functioning exactly as they were supposed to, where they are all independent and autonomous. And that's how they've all gotten rich off their TV contracts. But it's also why, this entire situation is a total disaster, and they're not going to be able to, really sort it out unless they decide that, they'd really like to abandon the autonomy that they've had up until this point. And, I don't think they're going to get desperate enough to do that until they have to, cancel the fall, because then really it's really spring or bust, and they really can't afford, as we've gone over before. that hasn't changed. They can't afford to do nothing. They can't afford to have 0 games. They got to come up with something. And so I think maybe at that point they'll sort of realize, that they need to get together, and all the schools need to be on the same page, and, have some sort of comprehensive plan that everybody's on board with, that makes it so that, everybody can do this safely and the students can feel safe, so that they don't just say, you know what, we're not doing this. Because it's going to be interesting to see if some school eventually does, the players do say, you know what, nah, we're not doing this.
Yep. Well, one way the players are hopefully moving towards a little more power, and we talked about this. I highly encourage you to go back a few episodes and listen to our talk with Matt Brown on the topic of player images and likenesses, and their ability to capitalize on those while they're at school. But we can talk about it again because WSU now is taking a step that I'm sure a lot of colleges are taking. They've brought in a brand consultant to kind of work with student athletes to build those images and in a way that they could actually profit off these likenesses. And that's obviously WSU, we talked about with Matt, is WSU is actually an opportunity because they have an opportunity here to make some progress with these rules. If they can kind of be a special place for specific like high-end recruits, be like, hey, you come here, you're automatically that guy. And plus, if we have this structure set up to help them utilize that, I like that WSU is taking these steps and moving this way.
Yeah, that's exactly what we said, which is, there's going to be an opportunity here for WSU. And again, people thinking that, oh my God, the rich are going to get richer and it's so terrible. And it's not. I feel extremely confident that it's not going to happen that way. And
the rich can't get much richer, like we said.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. There's a half dozen schools that get all of the good football players. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you don't realize that, you just don't pay that close of attention. And I'm not going to say like, you're stupid or anything. You're not stupid. You're just, probably a little ignorant, honestly. Like it's, for someone who like us, people like us who, pay close attention to this stuff, like, no, like all the good players are going to about a half dozen schools. It's basically what, like Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Oklahoma, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, who am I missing? Like I might, it might be like 5 schools. Like
Oregon's stepping in there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
on
Oregon's
the West
kind
Coast,
of
they're
in
kind
there.
of taking the West. They're kind of taking what USC used.
But it's
to
like
have.
if we're truly talking, like Georgia's probably in there. So Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. So it's basically like those 5, right, are getting like pretty much all the good players. So, I mean, anything that maybe
when you say good players, you're talking the top.
I'm talking like the top,
players,
like top like 200 players. They're almost all going to those half dozen schools, and not all of them, but certainly the majority of them are concentrated.
More than enough to fill out a starting 22.
Yes. Yep. So anything that gives WSU a chance to maybe do something different or offer something different, I think is great, and I think this is just another testament to Pat Chun and his sort of forward-thinking nature, and trying to figure out ways to do this. So getting somebody in there to essentially teach the kids how to build their brands, I think is an awesome deal.
Yeah. Again, we've talked about this twice on the podcast. I don't want to hammer home the value of this for WSU. I really tell you, just go listen to Matt. Our podcast with Matt, and we don't need to repeat it over and over again. Go do that. If you haven't, you probably did. It's one of our best downloaded ones recently, so you probably did. But if you're new to it, go back. Matt is a really smart guy. Again, I'll promote. He's actually merged his newsletter. I should know off the top. I'll just his Extra Point newsletter off of with. Another a place called the Intercollegiate. So you can subscribe and get some free posts from him. He talks a lot about kind of the politics, the business side of athletics. And then you can also give him a little bit of money if you want all of his good posts, which I have now done, and I know Jeff has done. So
yeah, and today's I think today's newsletter is about how Mike Gundy got that shirt, that OAN shirt.
Yeah, so that's pretty.
Did a FOIA
yeah
situation, and
so those can cost money. They're not always free. Some people they'll try to get FOIAs, like they can, or I know FOIA, freedom.
I know sometimes people
freedom
call them FOIAs.
Freedom of Information Act. So if you're a public entity, people, you can go ask for information from any public entity, and we do it. I know Michael Preston does it a lot with WSU's finances, and especially contracts and stuff. And WSU's not really, they're fine with sharing that stuff anyway, so that's easy. But like some of the stuff that's harder to find, they're allowed. There's some freedom there for the entities to, say it's going to cost them to get the information to you, and so they can put sort of a fee on there. A lot of times it can be kind of bullshit to try to block you from getting it. So it's helpful.
Most of the time it's bullshit to try and block you from getting it. Like when Mike Leach was doing the whole Tennessee thing a couple of years ago, I tried to do one in Tennessee, and they were like, no, you have to be a resident of Tennessee to do this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I, at one point, was trying to find someone in Tennessee to do it.
Why didn't you ask me?
Like,
I had
fuck it.
lots of friends.
You weren't in Tennessee.
But I had I have friends there.
That's true. That is true. Maybe you could probably still be like, I still have my Tennessee driver's license.
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere.
It's a pretty funny one. They had a blue background, and I wore the exact same color blue shirt, so I just looked like a floating head on my Tennessee driver's license.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, so FOIAs cost money, so that's really what he uses the money for. To he has kids and stuff, so that helps.
Well, there's that too. Got to pay the bills, right?
But yeah, we like Matt. Go listen to that podcast. Yeah. You can get more into that. Okay, promo over. So yeah, I like that WSU did this. I'm glad they did it. According to the other guy, a lot of other schools have already done it too. Right now, he says one of a handful of Power 5 schools, but I think he said there's like a few dozen that have already done it. So you can see it's a lot of the smaller schools that are jumping on it because they, like us, see it as it's an opportunity for the have-nots and not the already haves. Like so, good job WSU. Hopefully sometime we'll get this Darlow guy on one of our podcasts and be able to
that would be cool.
Listen to it, have him.
It's still a little disconcerting to have WSU being really smart and forward thinking. Like I'm just kind of, it's still a little weird. I have to admit.
Yeah. But we can. On that note, maybe we'll take a break and then we'll come back and talk about how there's still quite a hill to climb.
Okay. And we're back.
Dude, I realized that we basically did an advertisement for Matt and then we sent them to an ad right after that. So sorry, listeners.
But
we were advertising something we felt big about, like that we weren't asked to do. So whatever, we're customers of. So whatever. And he was a good guy. So I know I was super impressed on that podcast. But yeah. So as I alluded to, WSU, despite having it really seems one of the best ADs in the country right now. Still, same old story. Last in the Pac-12, reporting for the 2019 financial year, that last in the Pac-12 in revenue by quite a bit, $11 million to who's the next in line, Oregon State, of course. But But yeah, so that's still a battle. WSU, just off the top, they get less money than other schools on football ticket revenue. We have a smaller stadium. Obviously, the luxury seats have helped a lot, but everyone has luxury seats now, so it's not that big of a deal. And then we also have a donation deficit. We have a high number of donors, but we just don't have as many big donors. So we see WSU. So this shouldn't come as a surprise that WSU is still last in the conference in money. So that's all the more reason to need to have a smart AD who makes smart decisions.
But I will say this, as I'm looking at the table by the USA Today that puts this together, the donations, the contributions piece went up $2 million in 2019 from 2018. And since Pat Chun took over, what was that, about 2017, right? That went from 8.2 million to now it's 11.7 million. So we're talking about $3.5 million increase in contributions. It's a pretty massive increase.
Well, and honestly, you can kind of point to a few things where that came from, like donations around the aspirational football operations building.
Right.
We've seen some big donors announced and stuff. So that's what's encouraging in that donation thing, is that Chun seems to be pursuing those high end donors better than WSU has in the past.
Yeah, and if we're saying, okay, revenues dead last in the Pac-12, well, okay, fine, but also in 2019, total revenues were up $6.5 million from the previous year. It's it's more 71 million, but 71.7 million basically is what it was in 2019, and the year before that it was 65.1. So that's a pretty significant jump.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the piece that
we had to pay Ernie Kent. Pay Ernie Kent's pay Ernie Kent not to coach. So.
I mean, we can say it's a pretty still a long way to go, which is true, but at the same time, definitely trending in the right direction. A lot of that, it's not coming from student fees; those have held steady over the last few years. The school funds, the school contribution has held relatively steady over the last few years. It is actually down from where it was about 5 years ago. So, most of that is ticket sales, or again, our ticket revenue is always going to be capped by the size of the stadium, right? Unless we get to a point with the stadium where we're selling out every week and we need to add some seats in order to generate more revenue, there's always going to be a bit of a limit to what can happen there. But,
and obviously you and I have talked before about the seats that you want to add are the luxury seats. And that's really,
it's not like a big expansion of, the number of people that can fit in there. Right. And so the ticket sales went up by $1 million, from 2018 to 2019, and 2018 includes Gardner Minshew, right? So to have that increase, and then, like I said, to have the increase in contributions, which I'm sure, like you said, some of that's the IPF, the indoor practice facility. I'm sure some of that.
Oh yeah, I think I said football
clubhouse.
Operations building. My bad.
Yeah, but the indoor practice facility, which they've been raising money for, the baseball clubhouse, which finally got fully funded and is under construction. So, yeah, I mean, all these things are good, and we may still be $10 million behind Oregon State or whatever, but definitely trending in the right direction. Definitely feeling good about where this is going. Check in with me later if somebody decides to hire Pat Chun away. I don't know if I'm okay with that, but it's going to happen at some point, man.
I don't want to think about it. There's enough bad things to think about in the world.
I know.
But he's great. I'm glad we have him. Lifetime contract, because those always work.
Yeah, if he'll take it.
The entity that's offering the lifetime contract always always is never the one with the leverage in the situation.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
But yeah, all right, money, or lack thereof. I shudder to think what the next 2 years are going to look like on those.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be bonkers.
Next year won't
crazy.
look so bad because they'll still have the football season in there. Because the financial year runs from June to June,
Right.
or like May to end of May, end of June to the start of whatever. June 30th is the end of the year. You can do the math. July 1st to June 30th. But so you'll still next year on the 2019-2020 numbers still have football and basketball season in there. You'll probably have a little bump. I think they sold more basketball tickets, and they probably sold less football tickets, honestly, from 2018. Just from someone who went to all the games and saw the attendance. So, and plus there was just not as many feature games as you had. When you had to make your I don't even want to bring up that game. Never mind.
What game is that?
No,
Craig?
I don't want to talk about it. Like I said, too many bad things. Don't need to talk about bad things. Oregon State was fun. All right.
I was on a podcast yesterday with some guys from Oregon. They were doing a WSU preview. I was on with them last year too. Really good dudes. But they went over the UCLA game, and I'm just like, God damn it. Like, you fuckers. Like, why are you making me relive this game?
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Anthony Gordon forever. But lost my train of thought, man.
I know. It's hard to, get it back after that.
I was on a roll, too. I have no idea what we're even talking about anymore. It's like a mental destruction.
We're talking about ticket sales.
So next year's not going to look, but that 2020, especially if we're playing football in front of no fans, which seems like if they do it, it'll be limited to no fans. Maybe by spring we'll have it reined in enough to do limited capacity, but still those football ticket revenues are going to be drastically, and basketball ticket revenues drastically, diminished. And truthfully, what we'll see is there'll be some revenue lost from the NCAA tournaments for all the schools in the next financial year, because those are money makers. That's the NCAA itself is its biggest money maker is the NCAA basketball tournament.
Yep.
But all those NCAA tournaments, that's what they make money on, but they do give money to the schools, and we're going to be missing that money. And there would have been more Pac-12 teams in the tournament. Of course, we would have had WSU having run through the Pac-12 tournament for the auto bid, yeah. And then they would have obviously went on to at least the Final Four, and your conference gets more money based on how far your teams collectively move. So that we missed out on a lot of revenue there, and plus there was a lot. Pac-12 would have had a bigger number of teams than it's had recently, so there's money we're going to be missing there. But still have the football season in there, still have the basketball season, but where we're really going to see it is the next year. And that's going to be scary to look at in retrospect, even though it's not going to be surprising. But, yeah.
Good times.
Definitely not the weirdest thing pretty much almost anyone under the age of, 80 has ever experienced.
Yeah. This is the weirdest timeline, that's for sure.
Everyone has their beards on. Community reference. Everyone has darkest timeline. Everyone has their beards because it's we have our beards for because we haven't been shaving because we don't have to see people. So it's darkest timeline. Everyone with their sinister beards. I've been watching through Community. So sorry.
It's good.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's a
I
good
love
thing
it.
to watch through. It's a good thing to watch.
I did I just watched all the weird episodes, all the kind of the weird, Law and Order or Paintball or whatever episodes, which are hilarious. And now I just went back to the start and I'm watching it from the start. So, which I've done many times before. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. A++. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. We can talk about Cruton, but let's talk about beer first.
Okay, should we take a commercial break?
Are we?
Oh, we took
no,
one.
we already took one, man. Like our brains,
That's
man.
right.
Let me tell you.
Dude, our brains are scrambled. I didn't even I don't even know what
they
day
had
it
10
is
minutes of us.
half the time.
You don't even know what?
I don't even know what day it is half the time. I'm like, I wake up in the morning.
Well,
I'm
still
today?
you're in summer, but I'm still 9 to 5 every day. Like I know when it's Friday. Although today I didn't know. I thought it was Wednesday today. I will say. So I'll say a couple weeks ago, we had this big webcast that we were putting together, and one of my colleagues, I was on the phone with him, and at the end of the call, we're like talking about like, okay, it wasn't about the call wasn't about that webcast, but of course it brought up because it was like the thing that most of us were thinking about, and so I'm like talking with my colleague, I'm like, yeah, how are we doing on this and that, and he's like, oh yeah, well. We'll get this done, and then we have, by Thursday, and then we'll have Friday, and then the webcast on Tuesday. So I think, we have enough days. And I'm like, dude, it's Thursday. Like, and for him, he's like East Coast. It was like Thursday at 5:00 at this point. Like, it's the end of the day. And I'm just like,
that's practically Friday.
And he immediately, he's like, wait, no, it's not. It's Wednesday. I'm like, no, dude, it's Thursday. And he's like, I gotta go. Like it was like he immediately hung up. It was so fun.
That's hilarious.
And today I had that moment. I was like, all right, I just got to get this much done before the end of the week. And I'm like, oh shit, that's tomorrow. And Friday is notoriously the hardest day to get stuff done.
Yeah. I was, getting ready to take a shower and tonight because I've been working outside all day and went like, okay, well, today's what? Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Oh, wait, are we having crap? I think Sarah's sister and boyfriend and his kids are coming over tomorrow to hang out outside. And oh, shit, I was going to take some ribs out and let them thaw. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess hot dogs and hamburgers it is. So on the
That's
grill.
A cookout, not a barbecue.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I was hoping to.
I'm one of those
barbecue
annoying
some
people.
Ribs. No, I am too. I am too. So I was hoping to barbecue some ribs, and now we are grilling hot dogs and hamburgers.
Grilling and barbecuing are different things.
They are different things.
But
anyway.
Okay, so beer. Well, I'll say it to transition to beer. One of the things that keeps me on what day it is I always celebrate Floodland Friday. So I have one of my Floodland Brewing bottles every Friday, and so I got to remember, like before I go to bed, I'll put one in the fridge so it's like nice and chilled for tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. Whenever I decide that I've done enough work for this week, and just like, all right, it's beer time, beer clock. But yeah, so what are you drinking now on podcast recording Thursday?
Yeah, I am currently drinking Strolling Musician Series Mosaic IPA by Rainy Days Brewing.
Rainy Days Brewing.
It's a good, so I can say definitively it's a really excellent can art. It's got some excellent can art. And it says, "Behold, from the times of yore pre-pandemic when musicians still roamed free, the strolling musician wanders aimlessly about the room, singing serenades from table to table. We are missing live music, and we know you are too. Since we can't bring you true live music, and, quote, strolling musicians are explicitly prohibited, we put the strolling musician in a can. Let the sharp hop notes and smooth malty melodies crescendo your taste buds into a mosh pit frenzy." So, it's good. West Coast IPA. It's very pleasant. Very pleasant beer. I'm enjoying it.
Well done.
Kind of some of those, piney notes, and it's excellent.
I have one story about Rainy Days Brewing. I've had just a few of their beers. I haven't had a lot, but
and they're out of Paulsbo.
Yep, Paulsbo.
Which makes the name make a lot more sense.
Yep. Birthplace or a hometown of Aaron Seeley.
Yes.
Former Coug and Mariner, with that beautiful 12-6 curveball. But yeah, so Rainy Days, fun fact about the politics of breweries here. Um, you may know there is in downtown Olympia there is Rainy Day record store.
Okay.
It's
Did not know that, but okay.
So yeah, it's on Fifth, and so it's just a couple blocks over from Three Magnets Brewing. So when Three Magnets first started in late 2014, early 2015, around aboutish, they had a couple IPAs called Sunny Day IPA and Rainy Day IPA. And the Rainy Day IPA was the first one, and it was named after, it was just an homage to the record shop. Well, Rainy Days Brewing did not appreciate that, and got Three Mags to change the name. So then it became Rain IPA. It was Rainy Day IPA for a very brief amount of time. They don't make Rain and Sun IPA very often anymore because they are clear West Coast IPAs, and it's not really what the market wants that much anymore. But yeah, so I know that my friend Jeff, who brewed at Three Mags, and he has no ill will, and for Rainy Days, one of the first breweries he collaborated with when he on his new brewery Sig in Tacoma, it was Rainy Days. So yeah, no ill will there, at least between the brewers. But yeah, that's funny. Beer politics, beer naming, people trying to protect their brand, obviously. It's always very interesting stuff. But yeah, so that's the most thing I know about the one thing I know about Rainy Days Brewing is that they did that. And
well, you can know that this beer is good.
That's good.
So I can
I
tell you that. I can tell you that.
I have too much beer in my
What
fridge.
are you drinking?
Well, it's already gone at this point.
Of course it is.
But I was drinking, and I tweeted out Fair Isle Layla Saison brewed with purple Egyptian barley.
Ooh, sounds exotic.
The purple Saison brewed with purple Egyptian barley grown by Palouse Heritage in Endicott, Washington. You know Endicott from driving to Pullman and seeing the sign for it. It shares a B8 high school with St. John Endicott.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, that's big time in Whitman. All those multi-town B8 schools.
Gotta love those.
So it was created with ingredients farmed and foraged in the Pacific Northwest, fermented with our house blend of wild and feral yeasts and bacterias. In the tradition of saisons, we recommend drinking this beer fresh, which I haven't quite done. It was bottled in December 2019, so it's about 6 months old at least right now. Potentially 7, depending on when in December it was bottled. Or I guess, yeah, whatever. But yeah, it was very good brewery. Full disclosure, as I mentioned on Twitter, I have mentioned multiple times. And on this podcast, I did invest in this brewery. Truthfully, it was to tie in Three Mags again. It was a lot. I had met the guys that started it long before they could actually, when they were just trying to, raise funds and try to find a way to get their brewery off the ground, find a location, which it was a years long process for them. They've been struggling, but they're open, and they have a great tap room in Ballard, which is actually, you can go and have a beer there. It's 50% capacity, wear a mask. They want all that stuff. But yeah, highly recommend that. They're doing saisons and wild ales, stuff like that. But even if you go there, they have like IPAs and lagers on tap and stuff from other breweries. It's a great place to get their beer and other beer. But anyway, so I had met the two guys that run this brewery at Three Magnets. They were down collaborating. They collaborated on a beer called Something Borrowed, Something Old, Something New with Three Mags. Another funny story there, Three Mags wasn't allowed to put that they were collaborating with Fair Isle on the brewery or on the bottle because Fair Isle was not a functioning brewery yet. That's label laws. So they just put their logo on it, which is funny. But that's a really good beer. It's a couple years old now, you probably can't find it. But anyway, so I had met them and just talking with them about what they wanted to do, and I was sold on them. I knew one of them I worked at Jester King, which is one of the best saison wild ale makers in the world, and so he actually had that pedigree. But anyways, just listen to them talk about the beer they wanted to make and the passion they had. I was really impressed. And then it came up a couple years later. They were looking for donors through one of those seed funding websites, and I was happy. They seem to be doing really well, and I even in spite of the they did really well with the to go orders and stuff, and so I'm hoping they'll be able to survive. And before the pandemic hit, they were doing business really well, and so I had no doubt because they make great beer. This beer was very good, just an excellent saison. Kind of had a really there was very definitely a lot of impact from that interesting barley. It was very bready and interesting. And then just a nice little kick of funk, it's not sour. It's just got a little bit of funkiness. A lot of their beers are like that. They're not overly sour or anything. They just have a little bit of funk, a little bit of a nice little kick on your nose. But really just really understated, beautiful beers. I love what they're doing. Highly recommend, and then help me get my investment back, of course.
That's always good.
It's always good. If not, I'll be happy to have supported some dudes who are making good beer. And I've been enjoying all the beers they've put out so far. So yeah, that's Fair Isle. Now I'm drinking a Wayfinder Hell, one of the most perfect beers there is.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
I've had that.
Beer. Go beer.
Beer. Excellent.
Oh, I'm going to shout out to Tyler Claus, who asked me for beer Twitter recommendations today, and apparently I gave some good ones. He was very happy. So, all right, and he called us a beer podcast. So, all the people that skip past our beer section would disagree.
I know.
But yeah. So, what else did we have? Oh, we got to talk about Cruton.
Yeah, we got Cruton.
Hey, so
Cruton's like looking up.
It's looking up. All the best recruits. That it seems like all the best recruits, at least in terms of how they're rated by the recruiting services, seem to have been coming in as of late. So maybe we were kind of skeptical about the start, but I'm feeling a lot better about the guys they've been bringing in now. The most recent ones, Javion Gibson. From Houston. He's a outside linebacker, rated 74th at his position, 169th in the state of Texas. I don't how many damn recruits are in Texas. A lot. Like if you can be 100 you're 169th and you're still a 3-star in Texas. Like that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think the one that people are most excited about is Jaden Hicks from Bishop Gorman, which is a kind of one of those football places. Powerhouse. And he's our highest rated recruit, safety. Another defensive back. Obviously, they saw that as an area of need, and they have been bringing in lots of players, which we talked about in an earlier podcast. But again, they added on a big guy, 6'2", big safety. Seems like a nice piece to have.
Yeah, I mean, you always like guys who come from those football factories, partly because, you sort of know what you're getting maybe in a way that you don't always at some other places because they're playing against high level competition. In fact, as I was watching Hicks's junior video, they actually played St. Louis High School, which was quarterbacked by Jaden Delora, who's our incoming freshman quarterback. And he actually tipped a pass in the end zone that Delora made that turned into an interception. So make of that what you will. But he was playing corner at the time. He looks like he played corner as a junior. I don't know about as a sophomore, but played corner as a junior. It sounds like WSU likes him as a safety, which not a total shock at the size. He's already 6'2", 190. You put him on that college, that college weightlifting program, and all of a sudden he's 6'2", 215, right? So I that's pretty cool. You like to see that from a school that, like I said, produces a lot of Division I football talent, and you get to when you watch a guy like that, you maybe I think have a better sense of what he can do. So yeah, it's recruiting's picking up. The guys who are committing. I mean, Gibson, you mentioned out of Houston. He's currently the 5th rated recruit in the class. So you got the number 1 and number 5 rated recruits in the class over the last last couple weeks, or actually the last week and a half. So that's pretty good, because I think it's no secret when we were watching that this as the year started that we were not exactly inspired by the guys they were getting early, and it may have been a situation for them, I don't know, where they just decided, hey, we need to get some commits in the bag so that we can generate some momentum, and then maybe we can sell other kids on this. So, maybe that was the strategy, or maybe it wasn't. I mean, I don't know, but I guess I wouldn't be shocked if that was the strategy, because that kind of seems like the way it's working out. The number 1 guy is Hicks, number 2 guy is Elisha Lloyd. He, committed at the end of June. Xavier Young, he committed back in May, but Xavier Ward, the quarterback, committed kind of at the beginning of June. So really, you're kind of looking at the top, 5 or so kids in the class, 4 of them, committing in the last, 5 or 6 weeks. So that's definitely, moving up, moving in the right direction. I think the class is still, 60 something overall, 67 overall, which, is not great, but also is not, not necessarily disastrous either.
Yeah, I was going to say not necessarily catastrophic, but maybe disastrous is good too.
That's a good.
And like
we got lots of good attributes.
As we've pointed out, a lot of Pac-12 teams are struggling with recruiting right now. So WSU still hanging in there at 7th, which is kind of a product of the number of guys that they have, but still at least they're getting guys. And interesting, both Hicks and Gibson had offers from Arizona. Hicks also from Arizona State, reported offers, I should say, from Arizona State and Colorado. So it seems like they've beaten Arizona out for a few guys so far. So,
which is good, because if Arizona was beating us out right now, I'd be that'd be pretty disappointing.
They are overall have a higher ranked class, but so we're picking off some of their other guys though, so that's good. Interesting thing I saw about Hicks, I believe it was Hicks. His brother played for Rolovich at Hawaii, so he was able to use that as his in, and obviously, I mean, it's good if you have a former player speaking highly of you, that's good, and I like to hear that. And he looks like a solid player who could turn into a good defensive backfield player for WSU, which they desperately need to improve on.
Yes, they do.
And we know, like, if Dickert is anything like his predecessors at Wyoming, he'll be very good at building a good secondary. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can have a good secondary at WSU.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, we've had some pretty good secondaries at WSU. It'd be cool to have that again.
Yeah. Some people might remember that if you're of a certain age.
Yeah. I think all those players are old enough to not be in the NFL anymore. So.
Yeah. No, they're all, they've all retired.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
DBU,
kids.
We were DBU.
Let me tell you about Jason David and Carl Pema and Marcus Trufant and Eric Coleman and Lamont Thompson, and I don't know. We could keep going.
Yeah, there was more.
Maybe we'll get there again. someday.
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 Also, let's keep scoring points then. So
Yeah, those two.
Yeah.
I mean, we like offense for sure.
Oh, one thing you saw Bill C's Bill Connolly's WSU Day. I don't know if you saw it. He's not doing the full on previews anymore, so he's just doing these like Twitch streams. Some pretty Twitter streams. Some pretty depressing stuff when you look at the defense versus the offense in some years. It's like, God. Man, if they could just put some things together in the same year. Like if you put that 2017 defense with that 2018 offense, or that 2019 offense,
or 2019 offense.
Like, good God, like it might, be talking like that's college football
win the
playoff,
Pac-12 kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if you look,
that's Rose Bowl shit.
I mean, yeah, if you put that 2017 defense with that 2018 Gardner Minshew offense, like, basically if Hercules Matafa came back,
or if you even put that defense with the 2016 offense or the 2015.
Anyone but the worst.
What happened to Luke Falk in his senior
year? Or the 2014 offense. Any offense.
It just happened to be that one damn year. I don't know, man. Gosh.
Yeah, so
why did Luke Falk have to suck that year?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think he was hurt a little bit. I think it kind of was in his own head a bit. I don't.
Yeah, but why though? Why did it have to happen?
Why, Luke? Why?
Why?
But yeah. So yeah, if you want to check that out, follow Bill Connolly. He works for ESPN now. Got out in time from SB Nation.
Yeah.
They kind of they have him writing about soccer too, and his post on Christian Pulisic today was pretty fun. If you want to check that out, if you're interested in
Pulisic is lighting the Premier League on fire.
Yeah, as well as not like definitely like without compare of any American player ever. And so he had to find comparisons. He had to go to just any player. So he had some pretty high level comparisons. Now maybe let's not miss any more World Cups. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not waste that talent.
So
welcome to Soccer Cast.
Welcome to Soccer Cat. We're back in it. We're back in Soccer Cat. Well, we kind of touched on it earlier. We're back. Soccer is a live sport we've been watching, man. That's all we got.
I know, because in Europe they have freaking figured it out. And
my new lifelong fan team, Tottenham, is battling for a Europa League spot. So you got 2 more matches left for that. We're big.
I'm still dreaming big, man. Let's go get that 4th place.
I don't know if it's possible now.
It's possible. All things are possible.
Yeah,
Craig.
I think we are 7 back with 2 to play now. So I know because both Leicester and Manchester United won today.
Okay, so let's see. We got.
This is good podcasting. We're looking.
Yes, it is. So 7 back with 2 games to play. So yeah, never mind.
Europa League, baby.
We can't even get into the Europa League.
Yeah, we can.
We're still how?
Because it's going to be so.
Oh, they have a 6th place gets like a playoff spot.
Well, okay, so one spot goes to one group stage spot goes to the winner of the FA Cup. So we have to root for Arsenal to not win the FA Cup, which is easy because we hate Arsenal because we are Tottenham fans.
Somehow fucking beat Liverpool yesterday.
So Liverpool, good God.
Liverpool's just like drinking all the beer and just being like,
just fine.
Whatever. This is our drunken tour of.
But so Arsenal plays Manchester City on Saturday in the FA Cup semifinals. If they lose, then for sure, because the other 3 teams are in the top 5, for sure the 6th spot will be a Europa League group stage.
Okay.
And then the 7th spot, you're into the second round of qualifying. So we're firmly in.
Okay, so we're right in
right in there.
We're only 1 spot out of 6. We're only 1 point out of 6.
Yeah, we can get some
right. Sneaking up on Wolves.
Yeah, sneaking up on Wolves.
I dig it. Yeah, even though Jose Mourinho is the most painful soccer coach
God
ever.
Yeah, you and Zane telling me, oh man, Tottenham's so fun. They have this like history of just being this wide open team. Got Harry Kane, super awesome.
They have like the funnest players.
Son and like all these great players, but now they have this coach that just doesn't let them do anything fun. But
it's great. This will roll me right into Seahawks season, where Pete Carroll won't let his awesome player, do anything fun. At least not until the fourth quarter when he needs him.
At least I feel comfortable with this now with Tottenham. With Dortmund, it was a little uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know, these guys are fun, like they're likable. I don't know, but we can have our qualms with Favre.
Yeah.
How to say it as well. Yeah,
Favre.
What I love about soccer outside of our beloved Brian Schmetzer, especially European soccer, everyone hates the managers, so you just hate them. Like you just always hate whoever's coaching your team.
Like from the moment they're hired, it's like that guy sucks. He's out.
We're winning titles.
But the only, like quite literally, the only person that engenders any kind of like, loyalty is Jurgen Klopp. Like that's literally it. Like everybody loves Jurgen Klopp. Like even like Everton fans love Jurgen Klopp. Like for people who don't know, Everton and Liverpool, their stadiums are like a mile apart in Liverpool, and even so they're like crazy rivals. And anyway, it's like Jurgen Klopp. If you don't know much about Jurgen Klopp, like you should look it up, watch some videos. He's like everybody likes him because he's like this German dude who drinks a lot, and
he definitely looks like if you have a stereotypical image of like a German hipster in your mind, that is Jurgen Klopp.
He's basically it. And he was also the manager of our beloved Borussia Dortmund. So took him to a Bundesliga championship.
Bring him back.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to leave Liverpool to come back.
Yeah,
Dortmund.
He'd love to leave winning the Premier League.
I don't know. Is there anything else we're supposed to talk about?
I think we ran through our list.
Yeah. Oh wait, we didn't talk about the whole like Trump trying to throw people out of the country who were taking international people who were taking online classes in college,
which does have WSU,
which would have been hugely problematic for the WSU basketball team.
Yeah. Since Kyle Smith, in particular, has taken over, we have quite a few international players, and in the new class and the previous recruiting class. So that would have been a huge chunk of players that would have lost their visas to the U.S. and not been able to come to the U.S. to play basketball, which would have been a huge bummer if we ever do play basketball.
Yes. Yeah. So
but luckily the collective force of university lawyers scared them away from that.
Yeah, apparently. I guess, I mean, I don't know. Like the charitable reading of it is that it was a ham-handed attempt to get colleges to open, right? Because they wanted colleges to open, and everybody knows that colleges make a lot of money off these students who come, from international, come from other countries and pay international tuition fees, which is a lot. So, I think that it was sort of designed to do that, but ultimately it just sort of, like a lot of things, just sort of backfired, and they got sued, and they just went, you know what? Yeah, never mind. Just kidding. You can do this. Because, I mean, colleges were just like, I don't know, then I guess we'll have, one meeting for the semester that's in person, and that'll qualify. And I don't know. It's just whatever. Like a lot of ideas from that administration, it was ill-conceived and very stupid. And so I'm glad they figured it out, because WSU, like a lot of programs would have had a big problem with some of their players, and the big backbone of the program at this point is those international players. So, I mean, what would we do without Vova and
Ryan Rapp,
Yakumovsky and Ryan Rapp and
our recruiting class? We wouldn't have that beautiful
F.A. Abajidi.
So many.
Yeah, I mean, all those guys. This is like, what, 5, right? Like 5 international guys now? So,
I mean, are we talking? We're talking with the Canadian count too.
He would have counted 2. Yep. So like 6.
Yeah,
6 guys. That's
like half the roster. Would have been rough.
Half the team would have been sent back home.
Open tryouts for WSU basketball. Oh, but
yeah,
but we can't because no one's on campus. Oh, well,
yeah.
Well, I guess the thing,
the
one thing you'd say is, so it would be more like a long-term thing. Obviously, if they weren't having online campus, they probably wouldn't be having basketball, you would think, like if the schools aren't open, but whatever. So they wouldn't be having basketball, but it'd be weird to think that they would be kept from, for a whole year and then still come to WSU to play. There'd be a chance that they would not ever arrive, so it's good they can still take online and then hopefully, wear your masks and do whatever, and we can have basketball season at some point.
Yep.
Well, it looks like Jude Bellingham is going to sign for Dortmund.
Ooh.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, a young kid. Yeah.
He's set to become the most expensive 17-year-old in the sports history.
Yeah. They beat out some big clubs to get him to come over because they have a reputation now of developing young guys with between Pulisic and Jadon
Sancho and Holland
and
Reina.
Yeah.
Reina's next.
Yeah, bring it. Let's go.
We love our teenage
German
soccer
football
team.
starts up again in like a month.
Yeah.
So
get on board with BVB.
There's no off season. I don't have to worry about that. Let's go.
Yeah, I think the Premier League season went from August to July. Is going from August, like almost a full calendar year.
Almost a full calendar year. Yep. And they squeezed in, the end of this with, really tight. I mean, basically everybody's playing like every
3 games.
5 days
they're
or
playing
so.
So. Yeah, I think Tottenham had 3 matches in 6 days at one point.
Yeah. Yep. All right, what else? Anything else?
I don't know. Outside of European soccer, I don't know. That's what people come to the podcast for. Our very misinformed European soccer takes.
You know what's great though? Okay, so I mean, I'll even like kind of just say like I enjoy the fact that I don't know that much about it.
Yes,
and I don't know if that makes sense, but like I am, neck deep in WSU sports, and I am neck deep in the Seahawks, and I mean I'm just to have something that I don't understand, like with all of those sports, like, and I know you have this experience too. Like you go to a Cougar game, right? And somebody sitting around you inevitably says something just horrendously stupid and completely off base and not true. And, they complain about, I mean, I don't know. They're complaining that Anthony Gordon sucks because the team has only won 5 games. I mean, something stupid like that, right? And we're all like, no, it's, we're just thinking in our head like, oh, I can't stand that. Like, it's so irritating. But, with soccer, I get to be that guy and just totally shameless about it. And it's great.
Yeah.
I can just be like, hey, I just can't believe that they, I mean, I can't think of whatever off the top of my head right now, but it's like, I get to just, whine and complain about something that if somebody knew stuff about soccer, they would tell me I was an idiot.
Like it's very results driven. And now like you're just like, but of course with Tottenham, we're like, they're winning, but this is boring, dude. Like this is boring.
Yeah.
I'm watching soccer in the morning and I want it to be fun.
Yeah. And I mean, look, that's not to say that I'm not like trying to learn stuff. I'm definitely trying to learn stuff.
You definitely
but
know
it's
more
like,
than I do.
but it's like, whatever. Like, I don't know that much. I just get to be like excited by what's happening on the field. I'm not a prisoner to analyzing everything that's going on. Like I get sometimes with, especially basketball. It's like it gets really bad with basketball, So with soccer, I just get to sort of like be in the moment and enjoy it, and have an ulcer because my team is not scoring. And
and soccer is generally
soccer just sort of does that to you.
Well, yeah, and the flow of soccer, like just it's so much less complicated than like football. And so, like, you can just, like, watch it and be
it's pretty easy to tell what's going on.
Yeah. Like, that's always think, like, people with rugby, too. Like, it's pretty easy to pick up rugby. Like, as long as you know, like one or two basic rules, like, you can pick up rugby pretty quick. Because it's just free-flowing and, like, all that stuff. So it's, it's one of those sports that's just, I've obviously, like, particularly in the last couple of years, have really just fully jumped into soccer because it's just fun. Like you said, I don't know that much about it. Although I will say, I was playing FIFA and I'm playing on career mode. I'm still stuck on the Sounders. Although I've now declined several like transfer offers to like Liverpool and Real Madrid and stuff because I just want to go to Tottenham or BVB. I'm just hoping one of them offers.
You're like, come on, guys, somebody step up over here.
So I've declined playing for Real Madrid and Liverpool.
You're like, I don't want to go to Madrid.
My like 17-year-old prospect guy.
I'd rather go to Dortmund, Germany.
His name is Baxter Schooner, by the way. So.
But
anyway, so I noticed the game like suddenly like in the middle of the season started playing João Paulo as a left back, and then started playing Jovan Jones as a winger, like in the middle of the season. And actually, Jovan Jones was really good as a winger because he's stronger than João Paulo, so he like wins battles on the side like way more. So it's like
that's funny.
This is hilarious. Like the game's just like, no, this guy goes there. So we're just, and I just like can imagine in real life watching tiny João Paulo playing as a fullback. Like it's just nonsense.
Poor listeners.
So I know.
We've now gone to FIFA.
I know enough about soccer now to look at that and go, "That's silly. Like, what are they doing?"
Oh, that's funny.
Fake Brian Schmetzer. He's just ahead of the curve. Whatever.
Yeah.
He's very generic. He's not a real. He's just like the generic coach face on there. He's not. It's just like Seattle Sounders coach. It's not. It makes me sad.
That is disrespect.
I know, right? Greatest coach of all time.
That's right. I mean, you'd be saying that about an NFL coach who won 2 championships in, 4 years and went to 3, Super Bowls in that amount of time.
It's true.
Come on. People think Pete Carroll's awesome, and he only won 1.
Just 1. Well, not many people still think Pete Carroll's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that ship's kind of sailed, I think.
All right, so now that we've effectively lost all but maybe 1 or 2 listeners, maybe
There's a couple of people left.
Well, they're talking about a video game?
Yeah.
Video game soccer?
Talking about European soccer on a video game.
No, I was talking about MLS soccer on a video game.
Yeah, that too. That's even
talking
better.
About how my guy was, denied, turning down amazing offers from the greatest teams in Europe and just being like, no, I just want to play for BVB, man.
It's fantastic.
All right, man. I think that's good.
Okay.
We've bored them enough. All right. So
yeah, send us your emails.
Yeah. Podcast versus everyone at gmail.com. I have not checked it in a month. Sorry.
What the hell are you doing?
Sorry if you. I don't know. I got a new phone. It's because my.
What if there's an email in there where people are like, someone's like, please send help.
Do not send those to podcastversuseveryone@gmail.com. Highly recommend against that.
Yeah, maybe don't do
Yeah,
that.
please.
Maybe
don't
call
do that.
911 if you need help. I recommend that.
I had it added on my other phone as like a second account, so I could just like bounce back and forth between. But I got a new phone, and I have to add it again, so I can't just like bounce back and forth real quick. Stupid. The charging port crapped out.
Yeah. Stupid.
Now these ones wirelessly charge, so that shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yes, I have one of those.
Yeah, if I have a wireless charging port, but I don't. But whatever. Anyways, this is just going off the rails. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at the Craig Powers. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, he is at Pod versus Everyone. Yes, there is a picture of my daughter with a beer. Get over it. It's funny. God.
It is funny.
And let's see. What else? Watch Community. It's on Netflix now. Do that.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Go Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.